Hey everybody, Giselle Grenier here from artplace.ca. In today's video, we're going to continue on with some rock painting, and in this one here, I'm doing it as part of a abandoned art or found art, where I'm going to be painting this, and then I'm going to be bagging it with a tag, anonymously signing it, and then I'm going to put it on the mountain brow for somebody to find and pick up. There's an actual project for this. Facebook group for this, the Art Abandonment Project, and you can get more information there. But this is what I'm doing basically on my own. I'm just doing it on the mountain brow. Somebody stole my gesso. Oh my god, I was so pissed off. I couldn't find my gesso, and I know Joe didn't do it, but I was starting to blame the cat and I was starting to blame the dog. Poor me in chaos. Who took my gesso? Have you guys ever had a particular art supply you can't do without? Yeah, well, I've got different types of gesso, but for this particular one, I wanted to use the gesso, the DecoArt media line, the gesso, because I just found that it, with a little bit more fluid, it works out a little bit better. Drove me crazy. Anyways, so I did find it, and it was me that moved it. But what I did is I created a little palette here because I wanted to experiment with this piece, and this little tissue piece is courtesy of my friend Cheryl. She sent me a whack load of Happy Mail, and some of this stuff is going to be really challenging because it's right outside my comfort zone, but I'll be documenting my adventure with all that stuff, so you'll be able to laugh at me in private. I'm not into fussy cutting, so I just tore the pieces around, and this is a stamped image on tissue. I love this. Cheryl, if you're watching, can you please comment where you found this stamp, because it's beautiful. You could hand draw this, but I just love the look of it, the distress, the ruggedness. Anyway, so I did my palette. I want to make it like a flower power type of thing, so I'm cheating. I'm not going with my limited palette. I'm going to go with my out of control palette. My limited palette is Quinacridone Violet, and it's PV19, which is pigment violet. That's fine. It gave me this here. I mixed it with a little bit of translucent white, and it wasn't pink enough. So then I got the other stuff out, which is the Quinacridone Magenta, which is PR122, so it's a red. Quinacridone Red, which is PV19. I know, it sounds weird, eh? And then Primary Magenta, which is PV19, so it's a violet. And I did this off camera, so I put the pigments out, then I added some translucent white. And so I've got the Quinacridone Violet, Quinacridone Magenta, Quinacridone Red, and Primary Magenta. I'm liking them all, actually, so I thought, okay, well, I'll mix these two together, and I got this. Mix these two together, got this. Then I mixed these two together, got this. They're very close. These are very close here, probably because there was more red. But I like this. I'm going to use this to do the background. I probably should have did this already, put the paints out. I'm really sorry that I didn't prepare ahead of time. When creating these little rocks, and there's a lot of them, and hopefully you guys aren't getting bored because we're approaching the end of the season, and you know, it's nice to be able to add some color to your outdoor space too. To prep, as with all the rocks, wash hot soapy water and scrub it, rinse it really well, let it air dry. And when I do these all at once, and I know I explain it in every video because you may be jumping into this and not seeing the prep video, depending on the type of gesso you use. So I did another little experiment. I was given some craft paint by a manufacturer that doesn't specialize in paint. That's what I got. If you're going to be giving this stuff as gift, use the proper prep method. When I prepare the rocks, I prepare them for the worst case scenario, left outside in standing water. That's my mentality. And if you prep poorly and you give it to somebody, if it starts peeling, it's going to be kind of embarrassing. So that's with the one coat. This one here is the DecoArt Media. This is the media line, but I've done this experiment with the premium, and I've also done it with the other one, just the DecoArt gesso. I think they're probably all the same. I think they're maybe even a little bit different in fluidity. I do with the gesso, I have another 2 containers. One is thinned with distilled water, one is as is, and one I left the cap open to really thicken it up when I want to do some impasto stuff. But that's the big difference. Cheap stuff, and then the good quality stuff. And the price difference was $1. This stuff here, my granddaughter's getting it because she doesn't care. All right, so and what I did with this is I just used a little flat brush and put it on, let it dry. And because I'm putting on some additional paint, 1 coat is enough. I'm also using the Decoupage Outdoor Blue Sealer Finish. It's from DecoArt as well. And this stuff is really nice. It has a bit of a shine to it. So if you don't like the shine, you can use an outdoor varnish. And I'm going to reach. This is what I've been using for a lot of the stuff as well, for the final varnish. So you can use the decoupage medium and then use a matte varnish on top of that if that's what you want. I'm going to use my little number 5 flat brush. And I'm just going to, actually, you know what I'm going to do? Let's do this a different way. Using the palette that I'm using with the paper towel, it's a little bit more challenging because the paper towel's damp and these paints are damp as well. So I'm looking at my chart. Did I put them at the right order? Yeah. So I'm going to go light to dark. So I'm going to start first. This is the primary magenta. And not even close to enough white. And I'm using the translucent white because I wanted the transparency in there. Yes, you can add water. I would prefer adding medium to it. That way it doesn't break down the pigment strength. So I'm just going to, and this I'm going to do on both sides. So one coat with that. And this is way too much paint. It's just, it is what it is. Yeah, put a bit more dark in there. And then I'm going to take the, which one's this one? This is the Quinacridone Magenta. I'm going to use this more pure. And then the Quinacridone Violet. With lots of white left on my brush. So I'm going to put that on there like this. And then I'm going to rinse my brush. And you can use a sponge to do this if you want. It doesn't really matter. And this, you can do any, the colors, if they're next to each other on the color wheel, meaning if you have yellow, green, blue, or green, blue, violet, or blue, violet, red, you know, see where I'm going with that? Then they'll all go together. Then I take my brush and then I'm just going to lightly go over where the colors are just touching, but not overworking it. And I'm going to get, now when this gets really grungy, just wipe it out. I'm going to avoid going back in water. And the DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics stick to the gesso on the rock like you wouldn't believe. They are phenomenal. I've never used the Media Acrylics in this fashion, but holy smokes, does it ever work out well. And I got a little bit more light right in here. And grab some magenta. So just going to work around like this, and then I'll do the back, and then simply just then collage the piece. All right, so I'm going to dry that with the heat gun. Just going to work the back now, and you can choose however you want to work the colors. The colors on the back, I'm thinking I'm going to probably just leave them a little bit lighter. Okay, rinse the brush. Rinse the brush and dry it. If you have another brush, that would actually work out well too. And then just blend the colors together. Now this one here, this part is darker because of that paint that I put on was really cheap and thin. Not cheap in price, cheap in quality. But in all fairness, it was for kids, so I think it was for kids. I get people sending me products all the time to try, and it's when you get stuck on a line that you really, really like, it's kind of hard to change. I had one brand of paint. It was a tube paint a few years ago. The packaging was done so poorly. The paint literally dried in the tube because the flip top wouldn't seal. And that paint wasn't cheap. Oh, boy, was I mad. They've since changed. I'm sure they got complaints from everybody. I'm caught again on the wire. I really got to change this. The rock stays flat more on this side, so I'm going to use this one. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. Oh, on the brushes, I just used the little bristle brush, which is my little soft grip brush, and I've got a number 8 and 12 shader and a little number 6 round. And I like with the acrylic handles because I let them sit in water. They sit in water. No, I'm not going to do that on there. I don't know which is the side. Well, you know what? That's what I'm going to be working with. Cheryl, help me. Cheryl's stamping is unreal. Like it's really, really well done. Stamping is something that I'm not an expert in either. So I really like it when you guys send me stuff to use. It's you know, it's a really good experiment. Right down there. And this just seals perfectly. I'm going to get the tail to go right around Mr. Fishy. And the pressure on this is because there's only one piece, so I don't want to ruin it. Oh, look at that, how cute that is. Isn't that adorable? Well, I think it's adorable. And so with the experiment, okay, so with this I'm going to seal it all the way around. With the experiment, is the lighter the background is the less the paper will show. I don't like fussy cutting. I'm not good at it, really. I'm not good at fussy cutting at all. And I think it's because of my lack of patience. It's funny, you guys have told me, you're such a patient teacher. Especially the face-to-face students. You're so patient. That's different because I'm working with you guys. But for myself, sometimes this stuff drives me batty. So I'm putting that seal, and then what I'm going to do, because I'm going to assume it's going to be outside in standing water, I'm going to, over the next hour, is apply many layers of this decoupage medium, letting each layer dry in between, front, back, front, back, front, back, and letting it air dry. And that way it'll be protected. And then from there, if you wanted to, you can just put a final varnish if you want to change the finish on it, because this is it's more of a bit satin, more close to gloss. You can change it, but just make sure whatever varnish you use that it's outdoor. And the last thing you want is use indoor varnish and the person puts it outdoors and it's in rain and whatever, and then it starts to peel. That's not a good thing. All right. Okay, so I'll be back when this is finished, and then you'll get to see what it looks like. Isn't that adorable? Seriously, that is so cute. I mean, it's so simple. I mean, I'm looking at my timer here. What, 10 minutes? The drying time is the worst. That I have to admit. The drying time is the worst. But this is adorable. So you can see the shine on him. I'm trying to tilt the rock. You can see the shine on there. And from this, I mean, you can change the finish if you want. And I'm also noticing right here where the paint's a little bit darker, I can see just a touch of the paper edge. What it looks like a little bit of a glow around the stamped image. So I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to change it. And so you can see that's with the decoupage, that's without. I haven't done this part yet because I want to actually put a little quote on here. Then I'm going to seal that. And when I'm using, okay, our power just went out for a second. So there we go. Pretty cute, eh? So I'll put my little quote on the back with my special pen, and then I'll bag it with a little tag. I won't put my name on it. It's anonymous. And then I'll put it out on Mountain Brow to see who finds it. The waterfall down the street, because there's been quite a few accidents, they've put fencing up and bylaw has been there. So what I may do is actually go down there, see a bylaw officer, say, hey, this is for you as a thank you. By the way, if I leave these around, will you ticket me? See what they say. Well, I'll let you know if I ever get into trouble later on, but I don't imagine, because people love these types of things. So I would love to hear from you. If you've ever participated in an art abandonment project, have you ever created art and just leave it out for somebody to find? I'd love to hear from you on that. The other question is, do you have a particular art supply you would go absolutely bat crap crazy? You would have to go crazy. Do you have an art supply that you would go crazy for if you couldn't find it? You know, it would help if I could actually speak and say what I wanted to say. Like the gesso, I went nuts. It's just gesso. Oh my God, I could have used another brand, but when you have something that you rely on and don't have it, like my number 8 bristle brush, Mia ate it. When we first adopted Mia, she ate the brush. But let me know on that as well. So a couple of questions for you guys. All right. If you create your own little piece like this, I would love to see it. So You can share it in the private Facebook group or email it to me. Links to both of those are at my website at artplace.ca. Also, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have, yay. Give me a thumbs up to let me know if you liked the video. And don't forget to answer the questions below and let me know what you think. All right. So until I see you in the next video, stay inspired.